All right, friends, we're going to start our council meeting here. All right, well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the City of Port Washington Common Council meeting for Tuesday, January 7th, 2025. I appreciate your grace for the extra 5 minutes. So the police officers and firefighters, if they wanted to, those men and women wanted to come in here, we've got room on the south side as well.
We're going to do one group of police up here in
Police
front
first?
and have
Okay.
them there, or fire, whichever militia
Sure.
says.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have all alder persons present. Please stand and join with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Chief, would you mind asking the firefighters to come in? And our guests. Joseph, you're going to come up here
Actually, have them do it
at the podium first? Okay, never mind, you're going to go to the podium first. But you look pretty snazzy there.
he's dreading that.
If the other fire personnel could come on over to this side, that would be great. Melissa, could you get them over to this side, please? Stay right there, I guess. Just for the record, when we scheduled this, we had no idea we'd be talking about data centers. Mark? Mr. Mitchell? Can you introduce our guests from the other departments, or is Joe, are you going to do that, Joe, or do you want me to have Schmitty do it, or Mr. Schmidt do it? What's that? I know, I invited them, but is there someone who can introduce them? Steve, will you introduce the neighboring fire chiefs? I wish every council meeting had this many people at it. If anyone ever wondered what Thanksgiving was like at my grandma Knightsky's 1,200 square foot house in Cedarburg, felt like this is it. This is awesome.
You would know. For the record, I never let this happen.
Well, for the record, we don't have a chief right now, so where's the Fredonia chief? Would you like to be here? No, I'm just kidding.
Not here.
All right, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to welcome all of our friends and family from the City of Port Washington Fire Department, City and Town of Port Washington Fire Department, and EMS. And I just want to take a second before we start the pinning for Chief Joe DeBoer to just thank Chief Mitchell for his service to the City of Port Washington, his years here, his expertise, his modernization. I also want to thank the man he replaced who's sitting out there, Chief Ernest. It's pretty cool as a resident of the City of Port Washington to look out and see 3 generations of fire chiefs here in the room. So Chief Ernest, thank you for your service. Chief Mitchell, thank you for your service. And Joseph, thank you for all of the sacrifices which you are about to make that these men have paved those paths for, because I know that from experience playing at the Ernest House as a kid, being neighbors with Mr. Mitchell, you guys are busy and you give a lot to the City of Port Washington. So Joe, for you and your partner, we really, really appreciate all the things that are going to occur as a result of your leadership. To the men and women to my left here, to your right, thank you for all that you do. And I just want to thank all of you for joining us tonight on a historic occasion of our pinning of our new fire chief. So with that, I'll turn it over to you all.
Where, can you tell me where?
All right, well,
you're
here. And the ordinances of the city of Port Washington, and that you will diligently strive to serve with the highest standards of professional ethics and personal integrity. You will honorably uphold departmental values and perform the duties of the office of fire chief in and for the city of Port Washington, so help you God.
I do.
Thank you. Congratulations.
The newsletter.
Chief DeBoer. Oh, sounds funny. Joe. I was privileged and honored to wear this badge for 20-plus years. I'm passing on to the 14th fire chief in our department's 173-year history. Remember, you're serving the citizens of the city and town of Port Washington, but most of all, the Port Washington Fire Department members.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Trying to figure it out there. There's a reception back at the firehouse when we're out of here, so if anybody's wanting to stop by after that. So thank you very much for coming. It's a little bit humbling.
Joe, congratulations.
Thanks, sir.
Welcome.
Thank you.
The mayor wanted me to just thank all the neighboring departments that came out tonight. Wabaca Fire Department, Belgium Fire Department, Ozaki Central Fire Department, Cedarburg Fire Department, Southern Ozaki Fire Department, and I didn't see anybody from Fredonia. So, and also former and current Police and Fire Commission, all the people. Thank you for all your support over the years, and it's going to be an exciting next 5 years.
Thank you. Appreciate you. And again, before you all leave for the social at the fire station, which we will miss because we're going to have a little bit of a council meeting here, I want to thank you. And again, we invited the neighboring chiefs intentionally because the community is safe because of the cooperative efforts of neighboring departments, all the different ways that you gentlemen and men and women work together to ensure all of our safety. It's never a job done alone. So chiefs, on behalf of myself and the council, thank you so much for what you do in your communities and our communities and the commitment to a mutual aid for all of our citizens. And as we evolve forward, it's going to be really important that we continue to collaborate. So thank you for giving up your evening. Enjoy the cake and coffee and have a good night. Thank you, Shmir. You're welcome.
Can we get the chiefs up with Joe and get Sam?
All right. Thanks, guys. Hey, it was good to see you. Save me some cake,
County
please.
chiefs, don't take off yet. County chiefs and assistant chiefs, come back in here for 1 second.
I'd like to welcome you to Sam Arndt's council meeting. Guys, have a good night. Is it a training night? Is tonight a training night?
Where do you want to do it? Back here? Okay, guys want to come forward?
Is there anyone willing to make a motion on agenda item 1A2? So moved. Just real quickly for our audience members, if anyone needs a CPR recert, now would be the time to ask. Probably get it signed off pretty quickly. All right, so with that, if we could please invite in our police officers and lieutenant. And just for our guests, a few years ago, we had moved, the Police and Fire Commission was gracious enough to allow us to move over the pinning ceremonies and the officer swearing into City Hall so that we could broadcast that. If you grew up in Port Washington as a kid, you used to always know the name of every police officer and firefighter because you'd see them all the time. And we wanted to bring that back out so that we could have that on YouTube and then create a historical document so that people could see that. Yep. We're now going to transition to being the safest room in America. Little crowd, yeah. If the police officers and their families, if you wouldn't mind coming up to this corner over here so that we can have you all in here, that'd be great. Thank you, gentlemen. Yeah.
Don't, Kevin, don't move that. Don't move that, rip the cord out.
Could the other officers join us inside here, please? And just kind of step over here, that'd be great. Oh, just pinning him or what? Okay. Was already sworn in? Okay. A lot of undercover guys tonight. Yeah. Yep. Chief, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right. First of all, I guess Officer Metzgar has been sworn in already as an officer. He's already taken the oath of honor. So what we have tonight is a pinning for him becoming the newest lieutenant. JJ hasn't been with us long, less than a year, so it wasn't that long ago that you participated in his formal swearing in. But he comes with a lot of experience from the Sheriff's Department and the Thiensville Police Department. And one of the things that excited us about hiring him as an officer with us is that the Thiensville Police Department, their officers looked at him as an informal leader. And since he's come on with us, that's how our officers look to him too, as one of the informal leaders. And now it's time to step it up, and he's going to be taking over third shift as our newest lieutenant. So with that, I'm going to turn things over to JJ, and he's got his father here to do the pinning of the badge, who himself is a retired officer or captain with the West Dallas Police Department. Congratulations, Lieutenant.
Thank you very much.
Well, before you all sit down, on behalf of the council and myself and the citizens of Port Washington, I just want to say thank you. Congratulations. Thanks for making it out tonight. Thank you for bringing him in. And JJ, you're no stranger to Port Washington, so we're very grateful that you've now joined the leadership team at the police department. And I'm going to just skip ahead in the agenda here and before consent, and just want to also recognize that January 9th is National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And just on behalf of the council, I just wanted to say to the officers here tonight that we are very grateful for your service to Port Washington, for each day you come in for shift change, you get your briefing, you hit the roads of Port Washington. You're a community-based police department. I mean, people appreciate you, they wave to you, we feel great around you, you protect and serve us, and you meet the mission every day of law enforcement in the city of Port Washington with excellence, while at the same time you step into some pretty traumatic and unique situations on a daily basis for us that we will never know. And we will never know either, what your day was like, what you went through, or the burdens that go home with you on the job. And we're very grateful for that. And we're grateful that you stepped into that service for our community. And JJ, the lieutenant, that you'll be supporting that leadership amongst that leadership team. So with that, I just want to read the proclamation and then hand this off to you. I'll give it to you tonight, Lieutenant, to bring back to the police department. So, whereas the health and safety of the citizens of the city of Port Washington, Wisconsin, is important to the happiness, prosperity, and well-being of our city's families and community, and whereas the city of Port Washington, Wisconsin is home to women and men who serve our community and others as officers of the law and put their lives on the line to protect and serve our community, and whereas law enforcement officers act as ambassadors for our visitors, educators in our schools and community, and demonstrate service on their off time, and whereas the city of Port Washington, Wisconsin appreciates the extraordinary efforts and commitment made by our officers each day to ensure our protection in our schools, workplaces, roadways, and homes. And whereas the police officers of our city demonstrate extraordinary care and concern for our schools this year when last year when they responded to a threatening call. And whereas National Law Enforcement Day is an opportunity to show our support for law enforcement. Now, therefore, may it be resolved that I, Ted Knightsky, Mayor of the City of Port Washington, declare January 9th, 2025 to be National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day and call this observation to the attention of all citizens and ask that every citizen, at their behest, on one of the 365 days this year, bring treats to our officers down at the police department.
There is no fast food.
Lieutenant, take this back. Chief, thank you.
Mayor.
Thank you. And while I'm walking out and they're walking out, also thank you to the Police and Fire Commission members who are here tonight for their active service. What they do for us as well. Okay, you guys are going downstairs?
We're going back to the PD.
Are you going to the police department or are you going to closed session? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, save some cake. Thank you, Commissioner Beaver.
I didn't even see him.
Commissioner. I still think it's the coolest title. Like being police commissioner. I think of Batman. All right, so with that, as they're walking out of the room, the next agenda item would be our consent agenda. Is there anyone willing to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the consent agenda? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, and then that just brings us into mayor's business. Two items here tonight. One was the proclamation for National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And then the second one here is I wanted to introduce our new city attorney, Matt Nugent here, who's joining us tonight for the first time. Matt, we want to welcome you to Port Washington and to serving in the council and thank you in advance for all of the work that you'll do. And if you wanted to say anything, we'll see how good your impromptu speaking skills are.
I don't have anything to say, but I thank Mayor and the council for allowing me to be here and to serve as city attorney.
Well, that's perfectly short and sweet. That's excellent. And then the second thing under mayor business is, again, I just want to thank the community members who came out tonight for our work session and the council for doing their diligence, our guests tonight who shared with us that information. And just as a reminder, tomorrow we will be putting up on the city Facebook page an email address that you can ask the questions. Not necessarily that they'll be responded to rapidly, but we'll collect them, look for themes, and then address those very publicly on an FAQ document that we're going to publish. And I also really appreciate you taking the time tonight to come in to hear what's going on and see what's going on. Social media has got this really interesting way of kind of creating narratives that are not accurate or assumptions about elected officials in small communities. And I just want to thank the council and our city staff for the proactivity that we're about to engage in as we take a journey that none of us have ever been on before. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate people coming out tonight for those different pieces. And with that, Melissa, any officers or staff reports or updates?
Just a few, Mayor. Thank you. The email address, I'll just give it to you if anyone wants it right now. It's economic DEV, so economic dev at portwashingtonwi.gov. I will put it with the presentation out on the website and on the social media tomorrow, but just in case you need it tonight. If you check out the website, our newsletter is out there. And park reservations for 2025 are open, so you are able to connect on there and work on those for 2025. And I just wanted to announce the $25,000 grant that we received for in the Park and Recreation. That information is in the newsletter as well. So John Crane always does a good job, and as well as Public Works with getting grants for our community. And lastly, I'm going to kick it over to Rob to give a slight update or a small update on the public safety complex.
Okay, just a couple of highlights, things I want to highlight from the memo that I sent to you earlier this week regarding our progress on the proposed public safety building. And we as a staff, of course, communicate almost every day with the design team. And we have another meeting tomorrow. And then our core group will be meeting on Friday to give really an up to the minute assessment of the project. So we are on track to have design completed by this Friday and out for bids next week. That is the current schedule, so we'll kind of cement that in on Friday. The latest budget estimate that we received from our construction manager is still at the $33.5 million, and so that includes all soft costs, land acquisition costs, furniture costs, energy costs, et cetera. So the actual cost of the building itself is around $28.5 million. That's the current estimate, and so certainly once we open the bids, we'll know the final numbers on that. We will have a full presentation given to the council at our next council meeting. So there'll be a full presentation made by our owner's rep, MC Group.
Excellent. Thank you. Any questions for staff? Okay, that brings us into public comments. Remember that your comments are always welcome. Please, if you step to the podium, state your name, address, and community, and please make sure to limit those comments to 3 minutes. I'll set an alarm on my phone for 2 minutes and 55 seconds, so when it beeps, you've got 5 seconds left. Any public comment? Oh, okay, we're ready to go.
I'm Pat Morrissey, 120 West Dodge Street in Port, and I just want to say it's been an honor to be here, and it's been an honor to watch the Common Council in action, and the honoring of the police and fire was just so heartwarming, and I'm so glad you did that here at City Hall so that people could see it. So then I'll go into my message. Mayor, I do want to thank you for getting back to me about the work session, and obviously people showed up for it, so that was really good. And had tonight's work session taken place earlier, it might have really allayed some of the fears of the community. The editorial printed in December 26th edition of the Ozaki Press, signed by the mayor and 6 of the 7 alder people, felt condescending, stating that you signed the NDAs in the city's best interest. We, the citizens, are the city. How do you know if this is our best interest? Did you have any conversations with a multitude of constituents? There are so many unanswered questions surrounding the land acquisition in the town of Port. For the first time in months, residents in both the town and the city of Port Washington are learning new details from you about a possible data center project that could take up more than 1,000 acres of land. Why is the city of Port so urgently pressing this matter? Why is it so important for the city to acquire this land? Why is information about updates not being shared with our community? Has the Great Lakes Compact been contacted regarding new or increased diversions of water from Lake Michigan? The secrets up until tonight that you hold keep the public in the dark about the economic and environmental risks of these projects, stifling the democratic process. Not having answers to these important questions has led to mistrust of the Common Council. Trust is a cornerstone of democracy. Currently, our local government is on shaky ground. And what about the lives of at least 16 families in the town of Port who have lived on this land for decades? Do they not have a say in this decision? Have you actually had conversations with these landowners and heard their stories about their farms, some of which are still working ones? This reminds me of the white men and many settlers who believed that the Indian nations were standing in the way of progress. The settlers pressured the federal government to acquire Indian territory. This loss of Indian land to the colonists occurred tract by tract, colony by colony, as the white men headed west, harming Native Americans. So what is to become of these town of Port families when they no longer have their working farms, their communities, and their churches? Tonight, you will meet in closed session and have a discussion behind closed doors with Red Granite Development. This developer wants to bring the data center to the area. I know you have the power to make the decision to acquire the land in the town of Port. I understand that nothing official has yet been done, but the basic role of a Common Council member is to serve as a conduit between the values and policy preferences of the electorate.
Pat? 5 seconds, please.
So just because you have the power to sign NDAs and to acquire the land in Port does not make these things the right thing to do. We're asking you to be more transparent with your decision-making processes so that we as community members are well informed. Please open up this decision and discussion to those who elected you and those who will be affected by your decisions. Thank you.
Other public comments or appearances? Other public comments or appearances? Okay. Seeing none, just.
Super quick, Ben Donakowski, 4799 County Road, LL. Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. Given the interest in the large development coming up around here, if the city intends to fully annex the township of Port, even in December when the border agreement expires, I really hope you give some kind of heads up to not just those in the project, but the township. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to move into our agenda then. Any other comments? All right, I just want to, I normally wouldn't do this, but I just want to respond to two things. One is I appreciate the question, and we'll address it in the FAQ of the process of annexation that cannot just be done. And second, any land that would be worked with the developers is not being taken from them. They are selling it. So that moves us into the next agenda item, which is the standing council committees, which is agenda item 9A1, which is consideration and possible action on ordinance 2025-1, amending portions of chapter 8 of the city code relating to the library board. Tonight is a first reading, and the staff recommendation on this. The issue is, should the city council approve an ordinance expanding the membership of the library board from its current 7 members to 9 members as part of the legal process for the city to change classification from a city of 4th class to a city of the 3rd class. The recommendation from the city attorney is that the council approves proposed ordinance, providing in relevant part that each public library shall be administered by a library board composed in each city of the 2nd or 3rd class of 9 members and in each city of the 4th class of 7 members. Thus, if the city by mayoral proclamation under Wisconsin statute 62.052 passes from its current 4th class city status to 3rd class city status, membership of the library board must expand accordingly. Matt.
Thank you. I'll point to the memo that was written by former city attorney Eric Eberhardt that's in the packet. Really, this is going from 7 members of the library board to 9 members. It's a prerequisite in order to move from 4th class city to 3rd class city. So that's the impetus behind this. This is the first reading of this. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions? It's been reviewed at committee. Mr. Tierney?
This is a very strange question, perhaps, but I just spent 6 years on the library board, and we almost never had the full 7 members that we were supposed to have. Are we going to have a problem getting to 9? And maybe I should offer this as a plug. Anyone who wants to get on the library board, it's a good board. It's an important project. And
email tnightsky at portwashingtonwisconsin.gov if you'd want to be on the library board.
But I guess if we can't get to the 9 members, is that an issue?
To answer your question, statutorily, we're required to have 9 members by code, but having those 9 members there, that's something we need to get to. But as long as the code allows for it, that's the prerequisite that we need.
So read it as up to 9.
We do need to have
9 appointed members.
9 appointed members, but we can't take some time to get there.
Sure.
It's just that the code needs to call for 9 appointed members.
Good question, thank you. Other questions? It's a first reading, so there's no action on that ordinance. Okay. Let's move into agenda item 9.2, which is consideration and possible action on ordinance, ordinance 2025-02, amending 70-4 of the city code relating to the ordinance review and approval. This is a first reading. The issue is, should the Common Council approve an ordinance amending the current procedure for the preparation, introduction, reading, review, and approval of proposed ordinances to allow for the adoption of a proposed ordinance without a second reading, if a motion to suspend the rule requiring a second reading is approved by a 2/3 vote of the Common Council members present. The recommendation from the city administrator is to adopt the proposed ordinances to provide a means for the expedited adoption of proposed city ordinances to address circumstances and opportunities other than emergencies requiring prompt legislative action. Matt.
Thank you. Again, this is an ordinance change that currently, as the code is constructed, only in the case of an emergency may the second reading requirement be waived by a 3/4 vote. This would allow the council to have flexibility when dealing with routine matters. It would require, again, 2/3 vote to forego the requirement of a second reading. So it's not foregoing the requirement. It would take a 2/3 vote by the council. I would point to the memorandum and just note that this is similar to a lot of the different municipalities around us in the way that they deal with second readings in their code.
Thank you for that. Mr. Sigwart.
Yeah, I'm going to apologize to Alderman Benning because he's asked this question at the last meeting. When we have a first reading and decide to not have a second reading, when do we hold the public hearing?
If this is something where perhaps it's recommended or suggested that this would be where the council would vote to waive the second reading, we would have to do the public hearing prior to that, so you'd have to be at the first reading.
Thank you.
And you're referring specifically to something that would trigger a public hearing, a shift in ordinance plat, et cetera, because not all ordinances require a public hearing. Thank you, Mr. Sigwart. Mr. Tierney.
I was just going to say, are we really saving that much time with this? I kind of get it, and it kind of seems like much ado about nothing. If there would be one person who would want that second reading, I guess I would rather have the second reading than.
And I think that's
Then
what
go ahead with
the
it.
ordinance, not to address this, do you want to take this one, Mr. Benning?
Well, I guess the thought process, and we talked about this in GGF, is there are some ordinance changes where we're cleaning up stuff. One that comes to mind is when we renamed the street in front of the high school and we had to go back and change it. Does that really require a public hearing in second reading? We add stop signs. And I think we need to figure this out, but I think there are some cases where the cost of publications, of having on the agenda multiple times and things like that. So that's the thought process. And again, it's a common practice in a lot of other communities. How often it's used, I debate that. So it gives us the option.
And again, Ed, as I've watched us the last 4 years and then prior to this, I think when we have ordinances that come to us from committee that we have questions about at the first reading, we've always kind of put a pause in place and brought it to it's always gone to the second reading and the adjustments have been made. And often what will happen is at that second reading, we still might not feel comfortable with it. So then we table it and try to get it in within the 30 days. So this isn't, I think as a council, we maintain our diligence you maintain your diligence of making sure that they make sense. But then at the same time, when the opportunity presents itself to move faster for something simple, that's what, when it was explained to me, I appreciated about it. Okay. Any other questions or concerns on the first reading of the potential first and a half reading ordinance moving forward?
I just have a comment for the public, because from some comments I've seen online about this has nothing to do with fast tracking any development. This is purely for things like we have a new subdivision. We've already decided where the stop signs are going. Does it really need a second reading to decide where the stop signs are going? It's stuff like that. It's not fast tracking any development or trying to shove anything down anyone's throat. If there's any questions, we inevitably will vote to do a second reading on it. And I would imagine that in most cases where it requires a public hearing, we'll probably go to the second hearing on that too.
Thank you, Mr.
Second
Gasper.
reading. Yep.
Other questions or comments? Yeah, otherwise, again, I just appreciate the fact that it's brought to general governance. It's reviewed 2 weeks prior to it coming to us anyways. A lot of council members are paying attention and reading their packets and going there. So, all right. Any other concerns about that? Questions? Okay, that brings us, there is no board commission work, unfinished business, new business. And before we go into closed session, are there any further public comments or appearances? Okay, seeing none, I'd be looking for a motion then. There will be two motions here. The first is a discussion and possible motion to convene into closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E to deliberate or discuss negotiation strategies for the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss negotiation strategies related to entering into a pre-development agreement with Red Granite Development Company, LLC, pertaining to a potential data center development. Is there someone willing to make that motion?
So moved.
Alderman Newmeyer, is there a second?
Second.
That calls for a voice vote. Ward 1? Aye. Ward 2? Aye. Ward 3? Aye. Ward 4? Aye. Ward 5? Aye. Ward 6? Aye. Ward 7?
Aye.
Motion carries. Second motion is pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 19.851E to deliberate or discuss negotiation strategies for the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session, specifically to discuss negotiation strategies relating to entering into an agreement with the town of Port Washington related to annexation of certain land within the town. Is there someone willing to make such a motion?
So moved.
Second.
That motion is moved and seconded. Any questions or concerns on the motion? All right, this also calls for a voice vote. Ward 1? Ward 2? Ward 3? Ward 4? Ward 5? Ward 6? Ward 7? All right, we are now in closed session. Council, please be prepared to begin at 7:20 in the chambers downstairs.